Okay, there are lots of times that people will say that they're ready to paper mache, and this is what it looks like once it's dry. Okay, and you can see that there are places on here that are still places you can see through. Okay, and so when you paint this, it's going to make all of these spots look different. Okay, so we're trying to make this the best that we can. So we're going to do two different things with this, even like down here and over here and underneath here, down in this area. So you're trying to find all those places and put just a really quick, like one piece just right there. Okay, so I have some glue that I'm going to do that with, and I'm just going to try and get it just right where I need it. Okay, so I'm going to press those pieces down. Okay, and it looks like I still need a little bit right there. So this is just kind of spot checking and getting things everywhere that you don't have. Okay, so I did a little there. I need a piece on the back, but I could do a pretty small piece. Just do half of this. So it's pretty important when you put it on the shelf that you actually have it all covered. Okay, and some people might not have to do this. So I have a little section there. Where else? I had on the top of his head, like right over here, that needed some glue. Oops. And then I think on the front of him as well, he needed a little piece. But just a few places that are going to need just a little bit of paper mache before you actually start painting. Okay, so then there was one right on the front. Okay, so as long as you don't have like a big glob of glue there, this is going to dry relatively fast. And we're just going to paint the areas that we didn't put glue on. Okay, so everything else we can go ahead and paint. There might be a little section right there. So just really make sure, if you're unsure when it's wet, you might as well put another piece on it because you're putting it on the shelf and letting it dry. Okay, so it's going to make things a lot faster for you. Like the end of his tail, that has some area that needs covered. Okay, so that's pretty good. I've got everything that is big and is going to show up later with some paper mache on it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the paint. We have containers that we can use similar to, let me grab them. Okay, similar to what we used for the slip. Okay, but these are smaller, and lots of times people think this is not enough paint. Okay, and they are very concerned that this is all the paint that they're getting. Okay, but believe it or not, this is gonna go a long ways. And so that's the reason that I give you such a small cup, is so I don't run out of paint. Okay, so there are containers up here. You can open them up and fill these up. The most you should ever get is the entire container. Okay, most of the time you're only going to need about half of it. Okay, but if you are, some people really want to mix a color, and so if that's what you want to do, then you don't want to start with a full cup. Okay, you want to put like half in there and kind of work from there, because you're adding more paint to it and you're going to need to mix it. Okay, you could use a color straight from the container if you want to. If you like this color and that's what you want to do, you could do that. If not, you could put another color in there and mix and see what you get. Maybe you want to put a little white, maybe you want to put a little orange. and mix this up and see if that is something that you like. Okay, this one already is kind of a little like orangey. But the nice thing about this too is that everybody can mix whatever color they want. I would save this until you are done painting. Okay, so it should go in your, I'm just gonna scoop a little bit out. It should go in your like cabinet until you are done. Okay, because then you don't have to worry about mixing the same color over and over again. And then remember that white is a very weak color, and black is a very strong, powerful color. So a tiny bit of white is only going to do a little bit, okay? A tiny bit of black is going to do a lot. Okay, so paint is, I mean, I have to buy so much more white paint because the colors overtake it, okay? But you can just keep mixing and figure out what you want to do, and what color you want to make. I'm going to just paint underneath here. So when you put this on, you want to do as thin of a coat as you can, okay? And so you don't want to have, let me show you what I have some people do. They want to be done like today. They don't want to wait for anything. So they're putting paint on that looks like this, okay? I mean, like it is thick, and then they tell me they can't move it from the table. Okay, because they can't touch it because it's so wet, okay? But with paint, the thinner coat you put, the more coats you can put on in the same amount of time. So if you put a thin coat on, then you'll be able to come back after you got everything painted. The beginning of what you started would be dry. Okay, so like let's say you start here and then you continue to paint, and then once you come back, this part's going to be ready for the second coat. Okay, so put thin coats on. A little trick to make paint where you don't have to do so many layers is add a tiny bit of white. White is opaque. Okay, and so even if you don't add very much of it, lots of times the paint is more transparent. And so if you put just a teeny bit of white in it, it's going to make it more solid looking, where it's not going to be quite as streaky. Okay, so lots of thin layers. Make sure you use a brush that doesn't have glaze in it and does not have wax in it. You'll have to look in the container in the middle of that table. And then this paint is yours until you are done using it. Okay, and that means you can make a color for the spots. You can make a color for the feathers. You can make all kinds of different colors. Questions? Okay. So let me know if you need help mixing a color, and we'll keep going.